Welcome, one and all, to Pathetic, the podcast. The gang is here. We are in the dull period of the sports calendar. This is probably the one day of the year where there is absolutely nothing going on. There is a World Cup match today, but nothing else going on the sports calendar. We have an All-Star game tonight, but this week is pretty much the doldrums. So how we doing today, guys?
Doing good, Mike. Just kind of counting down the days for the Jets to open camp, and let's get this football thing going. I have nothing to live for baseball wise, but Jeff, you do. But I know you're itching for football also.
Itching for football like we all are. And, thank goodness I'm a huge UFC fan because that's a year-round, never-ending sport. But yeah, right now, this is the worst week of the year, Mike, like we said before we came on, right? There's really not much to look forward to for the, short-term future, but obviously the next few months will be interesting.
For Mikey Mush, there's quite a bit to go on. You have darts, you have snooker, you have all kinds of stuff going on, which we'll get to later on. But yeah, for the regular sports fan, this is a tough week because there's really nothing going on. You got nothing to do at night. I don't know what to watch. So, but we'll get into a couple things. We got a few things to talk about here. We are at the All-Star break. I want to get both your guys' thoughts on the first half of the season. Obviously, we've talked ad nauseum about our two teams, but any other notes on the first half of the baseball season that kind of surprised you were something that, any notes on the first half of the season for you guys?
Yeah, well, I'm completely shocked that the Chicago White Sox are hanging in there as hard as they are. I know that division is not great, but I think we all might have expected the White Sox to lose 95 games this year because it didn't really look like they had much going on. And I also think that the Phillies, not obviously not a Phillies fan, but ever since Mattingly took over, that team has really been, cooking. They're only 2 games behind the Atlanta Braves. And when Mattingly took over, I think they were tied with or a half a game behind the Mets.
Correct.
So
they were.
When you look at that, the other thing that's shocking is I looked up one day and the San Diego Padres were like a half a game ahead of the Dodgers. They're now about 14 games behind them. That's how fast it happens. And I'm kind of surprised that the Tampa Bay Rays they're hanging in as hard as they are. And I actually heard this week that they said that the Rays are actually going to try to do, some big moves to solidify the team going down the stretch. I think they're a playoff team. I don't know if they're the division winner team, but I know they're a playoff team. But yeah, and obviously the Mets being as bad. I did not think they would be great. I didn't think they'd be 17 games under 500.
Yeah.
And no one paying a price for it except for poor Mendoza, So yeah, those are what do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, the White Sox was my big one, actually. That was really the main surprise. Nothing really surprises me in sports in general, particularly baseball, where, outside of the Dodgers and the Yankees always being good, things tend to change. But one of the surprises to me, actually, just to kind of throw a curveball, is Mike Trout actually being healthy and having a great year. I think his OPS is around 1,000, maybe a tick under at this point. And this is a guy that I could have sworn was done. I think, I don't think anybody in their right mind could have said, confidently at least, that he would not only have a good season, but even make it through the season, But it's always hard to pick surprises in sports in general because there's always things that happen that are unexpected. But the one, I guess you can call it a surprise because how can you not be? Uncle Ted, I'm with you right there. It's the White Sox, 100%. And, it'd be kind of cool to see them, catch a little fire and, do a little bit of damage. And, that's a good fan base. Chicago has a really, really loyal fan base. So it's good to see some new blood in the MLB in a sport where, we always talk about it's very top heavy. Kind of nice to see one of the underdogs have a good story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely, I think the overall weakness in the American League has been a surprise, especially in the East. You would have thought that Boston and Baltimore and Toronto, I thought Toronto was going to step back a little bit, but not to the way that they have. They're 12 games behind Tampa at this point. They're 6 games under 500. I didn't think that Bo Bichette and some of the pieces they lost they were an out away from beating the Dodgers in the World Series last year, and now they're in last place in the division at the halfway point here. So that's kind of my point, is the overall weakness of the entire American League outside of Tampa and the Yankees have been the only two teams that have really been consistently on top of things here. And the other one I think is a little bit disappointing is Cincinnati. I mean, they came out last year.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs. You have Francona. You have this young core of guys. Now, injuries have certainly bit them a little bit. I think Ellie De La Cruz was out for a few weeks there, where they really had not much in terms of offense, but you would have thought that they would have been a little bit better. They're 10 games under 500 at the All-Star break, in last place in their division. But when you look up, you have a lot of the teams you thought would be there, especially in the National League. You have Atlanta and Philly. You have the Brewers and the Cubs. You have the Dodgers running away with things, kind of putting that division to bed at this point. I think their magic number's like 30, like 15 at this point, or some kind of crazy number where they're getting close to, they're 11 and a half games up on the next best team. So, but this season still has a long way to go. I think we've talked a lot about the Yankees and the Mets, where we go from here. I think the Yankees, thank goodness they played the Nationals to end the first half. They got a nice little 3-game push to get them over the head. And Ben Rice has just been the savior over the last couple of weeks. He's really kind of getting back into his swing. He had a little bit of a lull there where they were losing all those games where they weren't scoring, but he seems to be back at it. And, when this team gets healthy, which they should hopefully in the next month or so, I don't see how they don't overtake Tampa at some point, because they still, I think, have a lot of games with Tampa left. I think they've only played them in one series this whole season so far. So I think down the stretch, you're going to see them play Tampa. I think now the problem is, as soon as they come out of the gate, they play the Dodgers and the Phillies, I think, are their first 2 series when they come back, which is tough. Actually, their whole second half here to start is Dodgers, Pirates, Phillies, White Sox, Cubs is their first 5 series after the All-Star break.
And Mike, I was going to mention the Pirates are only 2 games out of the wild card. They're playing really good baseball right now. The other one I was looking at, we all kind of went to sleep on them. They've won 9 in a row. The Boston Red Sox are a half a game out of the wild card.
I know, it's crazy.
Where did they come from?
I know. That's good for baseball. That's good for baseball, particularly with the Yankees being in the playoffs, which you assume they will. To have Yankees, Red Sox, that's always huge. But, listen, I mean, the last 10 games for the Yankees have been crucial. Going 6-4 in the last 10. I thought sweeping the Nationals was massive. And those were good wins because they were losing in all 3 of those games and came back late. There's a big difference between being 6 games out of first place and 3. And right now, going into the All-Star break, the Yankees are only 3 games out of first place. So I'm looking forward to the second half, Yankees-Rays. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And like you said, Mike, they're going to get healthy again. I don't see Judge coming back in the foreseeable future. I really don't. We don't even hear any overly positive news. I think Boone's last comment was he's getting back to doing normal activities. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean breathing, or does it mean throwing a baseball? He really kind of gave an ill-informed answer. But with Max Fried coming back, that's going to be big. I know there's some rumors too about the Yankees. Not really rumors, I guess, conversation about Tarek Skubal. I don't want Tarek Skubal. And it's not because I don't think he's good. I think he's the best in the game right now. But the Yankees' strength is the pitching. And if the Yankees go after someone like Tarek Skubal, that's it. They're done. Because they're going to give up all their chips to get him, and they're not going to be able to replace catcher, maybe get a third baseman. There's a lot of help this team needs. So as cool as it would be to have Schlittler, Fried, Skubal, and Cole, that's a murderer's row. but I just don't think he's a good fit for the Yankees. But
I think you can re-sign him. If you got
he's a
Tarek
rental.
Struble,
He'll be a rental.
he's going to be a rental for the rest of the year. And believe me,
Not
like
worth
you
it,
said,
man.
there's more things you need than him for right now. Him going forward, if you add him for the next 5 years, that'd be no brainer.
No doubt.
But
Now,
there's no way they would re-sign him.
now they do get a lot of money off of their books next year. So Stanton comes off the books next year. I think there's one or two other guys whose contracts are finally off of their books. So they are going to have some money in the offseason here. So I, who knows? But
Yeah, you know what it is, Mike? It's not even about the money with Skubal. It's about what you have to give up to get him. You're giving up a lot, not that I'm a big prospect guy, but I like to use those prospects as chips to spread that around a little more and get 2 or 3 guys in positions that we need, as opposed to giving them all up to get Tarek Skubal, who, quite frankly, we really don't need. Even though the pitching hasn't been as good as it was in the beginning of the year, guys like Schlittler, guys like Cole, they're big game pitchers, so I expect them to do well in the playoffs. So I really want nothing to do with that guy, money aside. I just don't want to waste everything on one guy.
And you've never seen him pitch in the playoffs. He's not a. You never know what that's going to be like if you got to pitch him in Game 3, tied 1-1, or in a best of 7 series, and you got to win that Game 3. Do I want him there, or do I want Max Fried, or do I want Cam in that spot, or Cole,
Right.
whoever you want it to be, guys who know how to do it and have done it in the playoffs before. So
and the way I feel, if you're the Yankees and you're going to be giving up prospects, you don't want Cashman making those deals. You want a guy like David Stearns making those deals, because he really knows how to get rid of everyone in your farm system for pure garbage. So that would be the guy you would want to run your whole thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting started.
That's a good segue into the Mets, I think, actually.
Yeah.
So.
And I did just look it up. I completely misspoke. The Yankees have 4 games left in Tampa, and that's the second to last series of the year at Yankee Stadium. So they do not go back to Tropicana Field the entire second half of the season. So
there you go.
So last year Tarek Struble looks like he was. Let's see here. Looks like he was lifetime. He's 2-2 in the playoffs with a 2.04 ERA. So, I mean, but it is New York. It's a whole different animal. You're right when you say that. So,
it's more about the other needs more than it is Tarek Skubal himself. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just about Correct. It's about if the Yankees had, like I said, if they had their positions filled and we had, maybe a couple of issues instead of 6 or 7 issues, I would say, you know what, screw it. Let's go after Skubal. Let's go after it this year. But the Yankees are not winning a World Series with the current lineup. They're just not. I'm sorry. No. It's not happening.
I agree.
And I don't think Skubal, again, it'll be a classic, like Skubal will get him. He'll pitch a great game and we'll lose like 1-0, literally. You know what I mean? Because we can't hit the damn ball. Yeah. So I just, again, it's not Skubal himself. I just don't think he's a good fit for the Yankees currently where they are.
Yeah, I would rather spend that capital on a catcher at this point, because I think that's where you really need somebody who can hit and be a manageable catcher. You don't need somebody who's a Gold Glove guy who could throw out everyone behind the plate, but you need somebody who's not going to bat 140 like Austin Wells has been batting this whole.
Right.
Yeah. You know what would have been pretty awesome for the Yankees if you knew Stanton was going to be hurt, obviously, and he's coming off the books next year. But imagine if you signed Pete Alonso and you had Pete Alonso at first base and you put Rice in the outfield. Your catching situation would have been masked. You wouldn't have you wouldn't think about it,
Yep.
And because, and again, I've said this ad nauseum. People are tired of hearing about it. I just don't understand how you can look at your baseball team and say that a guy at the halfway point with 21 home runs and 70 RBIs, batting 255, is not a good fit for your team. I don't get it. I just don't, especially when you look at what you've done to this team. I mean,
well, you know what it is, Uncle Ted. It's run prevention. Come on. Run
Correct.
prevention.
Yeah. It's run prevention. And it's like, and when you now Sunday, I went to the beach, right? Hung out at the beach, had no intention of watching or listening to the Mets. Haven't watched a Met game in a long time. We went out for something to eat, me and Aunt Peach, and it's coming up to the 9th inning of the Met game. So I look on my phone just to see what was going on. Zach Thornton, the rookie, 24-year-old rookie, throws 7 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. He comes out. Luke Weaver, who if they trade him, they're morons. They're morons if they trade him. Because if you even want to be acceptable or have a decent season next year, Luke Weaver's your guy. And Luke Weaver should be the closer right now, okay? But as much as Devin Williams crapped the bed Sunday, that wasn't his fault. With first and second and 1 out, and you get a ground ball to Francisco Lindor, and he flubs it, and then he gives you that I've got to be better. That was the killer. Was the killer. But then also, Devin Williams shows his inner character and just completely melts down.
Exactly.
So, I mean, those are the things. That is why when Evan Roberts and people say, well, why would you trade Francisco Lindor? You're not going to get anything back from him that's going to help today. Nothing can help today. Today's over.
No,
it's
over. The body is dead. The body is
exactly.
The body is cold at this point. It is cold and in the ground.
I'll tell you where Francisco Lindor should be traded to, and I think he would rejuvenate. I think if he went over to the Bronx, I think he would be a huge help for you. And I'll tell you why. Because it would give him a new start. He'd come in there. He'd probably bat about 270, and he would play better shortstop because he'd be out of his head. And then you wouldn't have to worry about shortstop.
I don't know. He scares me a little bit, especially watching now. It could be just, Met syndrome. Maybe he's just completely done there and he wants out and he's just not happy.
Because
that's what I'm saying. But you know what? I don't know if I don't know.
I don't blame you.
I mean, listen, if we can give up a bag of balls to get him, whatever, I would do it. The Mets will eat most of the money.
As long as Jason Dominguez is delivering those balls. See what I did?
But it's just, I don't know. And also, listen, I don't know about his locker room character. Is that going to be good for the Yankees? I mean, apparently, and it's a surprise to me, but, there's enough rumors out there to start, calling it a fact that he's not a great locker room guy. Do the Yankees need that? I don't know.
No, he's got to go. He's got to go to a smaller market team. He can't go stay in New York.
Too. Yeah,
He's got to go to like Milwaukee or one of those places where he could just be a guy. He could walk down the street and no one's going to yell at him and say whatever to him like they are in New York. So, Philly or Boston or one of those places.
I hope he is walking down the street somewhere other than New York in another few weeks.
Yeah, he may. I mean, listen, teams may get not desperate, but they may say, you know what, this guy just couldn't. He can't be there anymore. Let's try him here. We'll give him a shot. But it's amazing how that game ended on what was it, Sunday?
Sunday,
the Aragon?
Yeah.
It's just like it's basically, the season in a nutshell, right? It's just ended perfectly. And Uncle Ted, you said it about Devin Williams. Like, it wasn't his fault, but that's what Devin Williams is. When the pressure gets hot, he folds. And Mike, I'll never forget, you said that opening day you went to the game last year. You came back and you said, word for word, Devin Williams is not comfortable under the bright lights. And it just shows constantly. And that's what we said about him. Like, he's good. He has talent. But, notice Devin Williams with the Yankees, he did better when he got kicked out of the closing role, right? Because now the pressure was off. But, listen, I'm so sick and tired of talking about David Stearns, but we can't not talk about him. So how do you not, right? I mean, look, it's amazing. The run prevention garbage. Think about it, man. The Mets have 56 errors this year. That's second worst in the league. That's run prevention.
After him purposely rebuilding the team to prevent errors.
Correct.
This shows you what a dumbass he is.
Yeah. So when you want to talk about preventing runs, they've allowed 463 runs, which is, not exactly
Right.
towards the bottom of the thing, and they've only scored 398 in the first half of the season. So you could prevent all the runs you want, but if you don't score, you got to score. You can't win games 0-0. You have to score runs to win games. So,
And I'll tell you, if they don't trade Bichette, they are morons because Bichette has an opt out. You think he's going to stay in this mess? He's not. Why would he? Just let him go. Clay Holmes actually wants an extension. I would extend Clay Holmes. I love Clay Holmes.
Yeah, I think Clay Holmes actually is a good fit for you
Yeah,
guys.
and he's close to coming back. He's a bulldog. If you had a starting five now, let's say next year of Zach Thornton, Nolan McLean, Christian Scott, Clay Holmes, and I doubt
You get
that
maybe you
Jonah
get
Tolliver
somebody.
would be there, but yeah, and you get somebody. But good. I mean, this is just the good thing about this is it's keeping me from watching a lot of TV because
Yeah.
when I tell you the truth, when it comes to the Mets in this whole year, if I've seen 8 or 9 innings total, I'd be shocked. I think it's less than that.
Yeah, and I think too, Uncle Teddy, like the only reason the Met fan is going to watch right now is to watch some of the young kids who look very
New England
promising. But
bench.
you can only do that for so long to be like, all right, now you know what they're going to potentially be. We'll see what happens in the future, but you got some guys that you could build a foundation on, and you can like the Mets. Here's the thing with the Mets too, like they're so rebuildable right now. Right? Because they have the 3 young kids and they have one of the best players in baseball in Juan Soto. So that's why they're not getting rid of Stearns, but man, he better find a way to make the right moves because the Mets have a solid foundation right now with the young players and Soto and McLean, obviously, and Clay Holmes, who I'm with you, Uncle Ted. I think he's a very good fit. Like the Mets have a foundation. They just have a dope running the show right now that can really screw this up. So I don't know.
I'm not sold that Stearns is safe after the season's over. I don't think you
agree with
probably
you,
don't want to
Mike.
make that move in the middle of the season. You get it. You can change the manager at that point, but I don't know if you want him making the decisions in a very critical offseason for this team because, like you said, you have some pieces that you can build around, but he's clearly shown that his pitching lab is, blown up at this point and everything else. So I would not say that you're definitely going to be stuck with David Stearns, especially if this second half is miserable and there's 12 people in Citi Field in August when Yankee Stadium is jammed full of people, and the city is, thinking about Knicks preseason games versus Mets at this point. So,
and I think it was smart that Cohen. He hasn't done many smart things, but when I thought about it, I think it was smart that he didn't just come out and say, "Hey, you know what? We'll look at Stearns at the end of the year." I think he just didn't want to start that crap.
Yeah.
He said, "Listen, he's fulfilling his contract. What are we just going to get rid of him? We're going to forget about what he did." But you're right, Mike. At the end of the year, I think he's going to look at it and he's going to go like this.
Yeah, he's going to say the farm system's regressing.
Yeah.
These guys that you brought up have not panned out. Your pitching lab has been a disaster. Your guys that you did not sign are thriving elsewhere, and the guys you did sign have completely crapped the bed. So, I think it's not a foregone conclusion that he's going to be the guy making the decisions going forward.
Because
you guys might be right.
He is a billionaire.
Yeah. You guys might be right, actually. I mean, listen, there's the reason why I can't argue against that is because I think he should be fired. And there's more reasons to list to fire him than to keep him. In fact, the only thing I could think of to keep him, and I'm not on this train at all, is you don't want to keep doing the churning and the burning, right? That's never what a healthy franchise does. But I think that's healthier than keeping a guy that completely really destroyed this team in so many ways. I would say the one concern I'd have with him let's say Cohen wants to fire him deep down. He's very tight with this guy. Like they appear to be good friends. So does he get a little bit of a more of a break than another guy would because they became so tight over the last few years? I don't know. We're not, and I'd love to be a fly in the wall in that office, but
Jeff, I think
I agree. I mean, he should be gone. But
Michael
I
bear
don't know
me
if he
out
will.
on this. When you're in finance, when you're a guy like Cohen, you have a lot of friends. You do not become a billionaire by being loyal to people who are not doing the job. You say to them, "Hey, listen, I love you. I'm really sorry, but you're gone." I mean, listen, he's Bobby Axelrod from Billions. That's who the whole show was basically made after. So,
Mhm.
I mean, Axe was the same way. You're gone. That's it. So,
Yeah, nothing you can
I
do
hope.
about it.
I hope. I mean, we can only hope. That's all we can.
Yeah.
That's all we
Well-
can do. Enough.
Well,
I hate them.
we got the All-Star game going on right now. 3-0 American League. We have Bellinger and Rice driving in the 3 runs in the top of the first
How the
already.
hell did Bellinger make the All-Star team?
You know what? That actually, well, no. Hold on. That's a great question. He drove in runs. Now he
Yeah.
does.
Yeah,
That actually,
did.
come on, man.
He still did.
This is
Yes,
why
there
I
was 2
hate.
guys on, and he scored. It was bases loaded, and he
Yeah.
hit a base hit.
Come on,
Scored 2
man.
runs.
Good for him.
You know what? Look, if he was going through like a little bit of a slump, I'd be like, oh, nice, he's getting out of it. This guy was horrifying for like, I feel like 2 months. I know it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it. And all of a sudden, the All-Star game, a game that means nothing, he's breaking out of his slump. Oh, that really pisses me off.
He broke out of it a little bit in Washington, so he felt
did.
like, so he hit a home run. He's getting back into it. I feel like so.
He did. That's true.
We'll see what
2
happens
months.
in the second half. I'm hoping, but
I thought he was auditioning for the Walking Dead reunion. It was 2 months. It looked like he was just.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like the
it
Walking
was
Dead
like
guy
0 for
too.
30. I think was
Oh my
where he was at,
God.
which is crazy.
It's crazy for him.
Like 17 strikeouts, I think.
It's for him that's crazy because he's a very good to great player. He's fringing on that. I would say great, to be honest. If you look at his career,
I would say
And for him to-
I would say very, very good.
And like I said,
Fair. That's fair.
even with going
That's
over
fair,
30
but-
with 17 strikeouts, he's still batting 254, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
that is pretty. That is nuts.
crazy.
That is nuts.
So, but we will get into more baseball here. We have the couple days off. The Mets get back at it on Thursday. The Yankees are back on Friday with a big series against the Dodgers, as we said. So we will certainly keep our eyes on that. But I want to talk about the other big story from the weekend. Jeff, we talked about it on the last show. The UFC card had a lot of hype going into it, and McGregor kind of didn't look like himself. So I want to get your thoughts there and kind of see what your thoughts were on the whole card as a whole.
Well, the whole card was amazing. If you watched the whole thing, which I did from the early prelims since like 7 p.m., it was an incredible card. And I felt like it was leading up to an incredible Conor McGregor return. That's usually how the UFC works. I don't know what it is, if it's like some kind of, karma, right? When there's great fights, usually the main event is great. But man, it sucks to see what happened just from a fan standpoint, because we were really looking forward to seeing McGregor back. But I feel bad for the fans that paid $6,000 for a ticket to see McGregor do a Charlie Brown kick and just tear his leg up. And I will say this about the fight: he got off easy because if his body was in that kind of shape, Max was going to give him a beating that'll probably change his entire life. And I'm not kidding. Like he would have gotten destroyed. I mean, Holloway would have destroyed him. And if you watched, Mike, you did watch it, right? You watched the whole. Okay, so you'll notice McGregor's demeanor when he came out. He looked nervous. He looked so unsure of himself. His eyes were looking down. And usually McGregor comes out with this showmanship, this jumping up and down, like getting in the opponent's face. And Holloway walked out just, I know exactly what's going to happen here. So look, man, I said this last week when I gave my predictions. You can't take 5 years off of anything sports related professionally and come back and expect to perform at the level that you did before, especially fighting. And you're 38 years old. It's not like you took off from 20 to 25. This is 32 to 38, right? So Yeah, just, listen, disappointing, but the card itself was great.
Yeah,
And your boy, Patty,
I
the
know.
baddie, getting the W, which
Yeah.
was, did you watch that fight?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, man, dude, that
Yeah.
was the perfect way to win a bet right
Yeah.
there in 2 seconds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's beautiful. You just go in, he gets him in a choke, and it's game over. The lights out.
Yeah.
So beautiful. So
Yeah. So, yeah,
But I
listen,
did-
man, overall disappointing, but, listen, that fight would have that would have been finished in the first round anyway with
Yeah.
Max beating him. So, either way.
yeah,
would've
did
been short.
you see the thing on the side where Mel Gibson apparently was talking to Vince Vaughn and said that Connor's knee is messed up and
He knew
he's
it.
going to be in trouble? So
Yeah.
he
what
saw
happened
that ahead of
was-
time. Yeah.
You can probably look the video up. He, when you watch the fights, they come out and they stand in front of the ref, and the ref like puts the Vaseline on his face and all that
Yep,
stuff.
pats him
And
down.
They
Yeah.
take their shoes off. Connor took his shoe off and like tripped, and he went ooh, like his face went like, oh man. So I don't know how bad the injury was, but listen, here's the thing, man. If you were that injured, what are you doing throwing that kick to open the fight? So I don't know if he was injured. Maybe he felt something weird, but he thought it was okay. But dude, what are you doing? Like doing that kind of a kick? I don't know. Really
Jeff,
stupid.
You know what they
fight up.
find out, Jeff? They walk away from like the UFC, and he does whiskey commercials, and he does Netflix commercials, and he does Super Bowl commercials. And then he finds out that none of these things that I really like doing pay me like being in the UFC.
Yeah.
And you come back just for the money. And when you come back just for the money, you can't possibly be at your top form. That's the one thing. It's a weird comparison, but I'll say this about LeBron, who I'm not a fan of. And people say, oh, LeBron should just retire. LeBron should this. And I remember LeBron on the Bob Does Sports episode where Bob says, how many more years? He goes, I don't know. He said, but I'm up at 4:00 every morning. I train. I eat certain things. I get a certain amount of sleep. I get to the arena 2 hours before the game so I can stretch out. The day I wake up and I don't feel like doing it, I'll know it's over.
Right.
He said, because you can't not want to do it once. If you want to do it once, it's over.
Yeah. I mean, especially, you're right, Uncle Teddy, especially again with fighting, because, at least in other sports, you can kind of coast with good teammates. You can't coast in fighting because it's just you and the other opponent. And listen, you said the money. Look, Conor McGregor made a ton of money on and off or inside and outside the octagon, but we don't know how much money he has. This is a guy that spent money like an absolute wild man, right? We hear that about Floyd Mayweather, right? Money Mayweather is broke, apparently. This is a guy that was supposed to be a billionaire by the time he was 35 because, they spend on boats and yachts and, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I don't know, man. It was a really stupid thing to bring Connor back. I understand why they did it, but if you think about it, hindsight's always 2020. You can't do that, man. You can't take 5 years off and come back and expect a good performance.
That's
so
not going to happen again either.
No,
because Dana White
So
kind of said, this is not us.
So he has one more fight on his contract, which he will honor, but they're not going to give him Max Holloway. They're going to give him like some not no name. Yeah, like they'll give him like they'll give him a guy that's older, I think, like a name that like, the old school UFC fans know and say, hey, we're gonna have like a, like a Tom Brady versus Eli Manning match, right? Like the old school guys. So
he should fight.
So he'll honor that last fight. Just oh man, imagine bring her back. But
yeah, like I said, what do they say? If it floats, drives, or flies, you got to lease it and not buy it. But that's especially when you're making that much money on those things. Because as soon as you drive one of those things off the lot, it drops in value by like 50%. So
yeah, you know what it is though, Mike. Too real quick, we'll end it on this. Like, and this doesn't just go for fighters. It goes for a lot of athletes, but particularly fighters. These guys grow up completely broke. A lot of them grew up in absolute poverty. The favelas of Brazil, literally, right? Conor McGregor was on, welfare, all kinds of problems before he got to the UFC. He gets to the UFC, he's a millionaire within a year. He doesn't know what the hell to do. He doesn't know how to operate money, right?
Yeah.
So you spend because you don't know any better, and you're 24 years old. You're like, listen, if I was I'm not a millionaire now, but if I was a millionaire at 21, I'm probably broke today, right? Because I was stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to spend and spend and spend. And, that's athletes across the board. They just go wild. They want to show what they make, and it can cost you.
A lot of that would have moved over to Uncle Ted's accounts.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we will definitely keep an eye out for more UFC cards as the summer rolls along here. I'm sure there's probably a couple more good ones that we'll have here, so stay tuned for more of that. But I wanted to switch gears a little bit since we are in the dead period of sports. We want to do something a little fun. We want to do a Mount Rushmore. We're going to steal it from all the other shows that do Mount Rushmores, but because there's nothing else to talk about. So I'll give you guys a topic. Give me your 4 best. We're going to go with New York championships. So I think we have 12 that we can get to that we'll cover. All of us probably know more. There are probably not many honorable mentions after the 12 that we'll bring up, but I'm curious what your top 4 championship memories are, as we had one this year. So who wants to go first here?
Well, mine is going to be very different than everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So fire away, Uncle Ted. You go first.
So basketball. I loved the Knicks one in 69 and 72 or 73, whenever that was. But I will tell you, the basketball championship that I relished and loved was the 1976 ABA New York Nets championship with Dr. J, with Skinner, with Tim Bassett. That team, and they beat the Denver Nuggets in 6 games. And it was a surprise because when they won it 2 years prior, they had a guy on their team, Wendell Ladner, who was a tremendously physical player. He was almost like a Rodman kind of player, and he was killed in a plane crash at JFK. And so they didn't know how to replace him. They were able to replace him, and they won a championship. That was a great championship. And then the Nets lost Dr. J, which was just awful. Hockey, to me, the greatest, and I love the Devils, and I loved all 3 of their championships. The first cup by the Islanders. Kenny Morrow came from the Olympic team, came right to the Islanders. The Islanders have been banging on the door for 3, 4, 5 years and never making it. And then they wind up winning Game 6 against the Flyers, and on a very controversial goal by Nystrom. But that was a great championship. And then they won 3 more in a row. So that was a great championship. I mean, baseball, to me, the 86 Mets. I mean, that team they were a bunch of, they were mother effers. They really were. And I loved that team. In the middle of the summer, I bought a T-shirt in the Woodbridge Mall, 1986 World Champions. I was so sure. And then when they were down by 2 runs in the bottom of the 10th in Game 6, it was my fault. But they came back and won, and then they won in Game 7, which was amazing. And I mean, that was crazy. But those are my top 4 to me. And I mean, I think every New York championship is special.
Yeah,
it has to be. I almost had the Knicks on mine for this Knicks team. Was, and you know how I feel about the Knicks. This Knicks championship run to me was so much fun. It really was. So it shows you I'm not a hard-hearted guy. I'm bendable.
Yeah. You could be fair.
The only team I could never ever root for, whether it's a feel-good story or whatever, Mike, you know who that is.
Yep.
I know who it is too.
It's the New York Rangers.
That is exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So, listen, I'm going to start out with the 2026 New York Knicks. That's not my number 1. I didn't rank these in order because you can mix and match however you guys want. But I got to put it up there because of how long it's been, right, since the Knicks won. And I'm not even this massive Knicks fan, man. I wouldn't even classify myself as a Knicks fan. Like, after the Knicks won, I had people. I had people texting me congratulations. I'm like, don't congratulate me. Like I don't deserve that pat on the back, like, oh, you survived the Nick craziness, and look where they are. But that's what it was, man. The Knicks were one of the worst franchises in sports for a long time, and things changed pretty quickly for them. So I got to put the 2026 Knicks up there. I'm also, Mike, I know you probably have this one. We may have a couple matches here. I'm going to go with the 1996 New York Yankees. I mean, that started the dynasty. Their first title since 1978. They dropped 2 games against the Braves and ended up winning or beating them 4-2. After losing the first 2. So that was the start of the Yankee dynasty. And to me, even if you're not a Yankee fan, you should that should be at least a runner-up on your Mount Rushmore. It's top 5 for sure. Number 3, I'm going to go my 2007 New York Giants, beating the Patriots 17-14. Obviously, the David Tyree catch, whatever they call it, the miracle at the desert. I don't even remember the name. Defense shutting down Brady the way they did in that game. I know Eli got the MVP. I actually disagree with that. I thought it should be the defense, to be honest. I think the whole defense should have gotten it. But yeah, I got to put that up there. I mean, that was the Giants, the first time it was so surprising. I remember watching it in my basement with a bunch of people and just shocked that they're even there. And then to beat the Patriots was one of the best championships of all time, one of the biggest upsets ever. And finally, I am going to go with the 2011 New York Giants. Unfortunately, I got to do it twice, man. I couldn't decide between the two. Listen, Uncle Ted, we watched this game together. You can make the case that was more impressive than the first one because it's hard to do that twice against basically the same team, right? Belichick was still there, Brady was still there, and that's all you need to know. And that was a game where Brady played a lot better, and the Giants still found a way. People are going to call me crazy, but I think that Eli Manning pass to Manningham, if you guys remember that on the sideline, was a more impressive pass than the David Tyree catch because there was a little bit of luck involved in that. The escape was the best part of that more than the throw. He just kind of chucked it up. But that Mario Manningham pass, if for the listeners, just look that up. It was one of the great passes in Super Bowl history, and that's not being hyperbolic. It was a phenomenal, timely pass. And I actually find that Super Bowl more impressive than the first one that they got. So there you go. There's my my Mount Rushmore of New York championships.
All right, so I'm going to go in reverse order. I actually did rank these 1 to 4, so I'll go in reverse order. Number 4 for me is the 09 Yankees. I love that team. They had a lot of great guys. They still had the core from the old 90s teams, but they also brought in some fun guys like Nick Swisher and Teixeira and Sabathia, and there's a lot of great guys on that team. And A-Rod finally gets over the hump and wins a championship. Gets that monkey off his back and gets the World Series ring. So for me, that's and first real championship of me as an adult, seeing that, because a lot of the other ones were when I was kids. So 09 Yankees is number 4. Jeff, I'm with you. 96 Yankees is number 3 on my list. Just amazing all the way through. I watched every single one of those games. The Jeffrey Mayer, the whole playoff run was just electric. It was just so much fun to see Yankee Stadium back to being what it was a long time ago, and for seeing that for real and seeing the start of a dynasty that you only heard about from the 50s and 60s, that they were in the World Series every single year. To get to live that and see it start was very, very cool. So that's my number 3. Number 2 is this year's New York Knicks team. You've heard me talk about this team all the time. You've seen me react. You've seen the blood, sweat, and tears I put into this Knicks team, the jerseys that I have of the misery that I went through as a Knicks fan with a Keith Van Horn and a Ronaldo Bachman Knicks jersey, and the Sprewell years where they almost made it, and then Carmelo where you get a little bit of a tease of what it could be, and then this group comes together and they put together one of the all-time runs that we're going to be talking about for a very, very long time in this city. So that's my number 2. And then number one, sorry, Ted, but it's the 94 Rangers. That was my first championship as a kid. I'm 8 years old. I'm watching that series against the Devils, running back and forth. Then you go to 7 games. You have the Richter stopping Pavel Bure on the penalty shot in the Pacific Coliseum, and just the Messier guarantee, all the stuff that went on in that playoff run. That will always be number one in my heart. Always when I think about championships and the amazingness of them, that's the one that will always be one. This Knicks one was very, very close to topping that, but it brought me back to that same feelings of the 94 Rangers. So that for me is still going to be number one. So
I think you're on mute, Uncle Ted.
I know how much that meant to you because I know how much that destroyed me.
yeah,
I mean, I was inconsolable after that. So congratulations, Mike.
Yeah. So, and my honorable mention is 68 Jets. I mean, I wasn't alive. I've only watched the game on YouTube, but to just see them move the ball down the field the way they did in that game and the way that they played, it still gives me goosebumps just thinking that if we could ever get back to that, that would be something. So
we will.
Yeah, and my honorable mention, and this was going to be it was up there. I was actually kind of wrestling between the 2009 Yankees and the 1996 Yankees because I'm basically the same age as you. Like I remember watching the 96 Yankees, but I was a kid, right? We were adults when we watched the 2009 Yankees, and I love that team, man. I'm so with you. Like, look at that lineup. Like that lineup was an all-star team from 1 through 9. So yeah, that'd be my honorable mention, the 09 Yankees for sure. Yep. And I love Girardi too.
Yeah. You know, I just wanted to throw something out at you guys, just so you know, if I've never mentioned it to you. You know the game that Reggie Jackson hit the 3 home runs against the Dodgers in the World Series? Guess who was sitting with the bleacher creatures that game? I was
Were you really?
I was at my.
I didn't hear that.
My cousin,
I think you did tell me that once.
My cousin Frankie's a huge Dodgers fan, and he got the tickets. We went out there. He was wearing a Dodgers jacket, which I thought was just asking to be murdered.
Yeah.
And
in the bleachers too.
In the bleachers.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, the people, it was a really great atmosphere. And listen, they can't get mad because Jackson's hitting 3 home runs. So, you know, it was what it was, but what a great atmosphere that was. That was really something. That was something that I would love to have you guys experience, that kind of an atmosphere at a game.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like if you were at that Knicks game where they come back, I feel like you probably have that story for the rest of your life as well if you were around there. So
for sure,
no doubt.
Well, that was fun. That makes me feel so much better as this week goes on here. Real good pick me up there. We're gonna transition now to the Mikey Mush picks. We went 1 for 1 on the Aussie Rules football. Melbourne did cover their 41.5 point spread against Richmond. They won 111-65. But unfortunately, Essendon, who I didn't realize was 1-16, and got absolutely boat raced by Brisbane Lions, 149-59. So they lost by 90 points and did not cover the 62.5 point spread there. So 1-1 for Mikey Mush this week. We're going to go all over the place because, again, there is nothing else in sports going on. So this is my week to shine. So I have 3 different sports with 3 different things that we're going to roll through for this week. The first one is the most tame one. I'm going to take Xander Schauffele to win the British Open this week, plus 2,400. That's a lot of cheddar goldfish. I like that a lot. I think it's his time. I think the weather's going to be good. You're not going to deal with all the nonsense of the wind and the rain and everything else where it's miserable in Britain. You're going to be able to shoot the ball over those pot bunkers and really get after it from there. So give me Xander Schauffele to win the British Open. We're going to go to darts. I don't know where this dart game is on Sunday. Sunday at 10 a.m., I'm going to take my boy Michael Van Gerwen, minus 2.5 games against Andrew Gilding. That's at 10 a.m. on Sunday. And then we're also going to go over to the World Series of Poker. They're at their final table. There's 9 guys left. I'm going to take my paisan, Michael Gagliano, to win the whole thing He's in 5th place, right in the middle right now. He's got 46 million chips left. So that is not going to happen for a couple of weeks. I think that's August 3rd is when that starts up again. But give me Mike Gagliano to win the World Series of Poker, Xander Schauffele to win the British Open, and Michael Van Gerwen to win in darts. Mikey Mush's picks for the week of all weeks for Mikey Mush picks. So enjoy those. Guys, this was a lot of fun. Any parting words before we say goodbye to everybody here?
That was funny, Mike. That was funny, your dart thing. Darts, he goes, I don't know where it is, but this is what we're gonna do. You know where it is? It's at the old Silver Tavern in Manalapan, New Jersey. That's what
it might be.
It's in the Blood of the Lamb bar on Downing Street in England. Listen, when we come back, I want to have us do a special episode on Jets Giants training camp opening up.
Yes, sir.
I like that. Yeah, we're just about there. I think we're a couple of weeks away from training camp starting.
2 weeks.
Everyone enjoy. Again, please like, subscribe, tell your friends. We have a lot of fun on these episodes. I'm sure we hope you guys laugh and enjoy. But if you do, tell a friend who you think would also laugh and enjoy these episodes here. Let's build this thing up even more. Guys, this was a lot of fun, and we'll catch everybody soon.
Good night.